and welcome to Law Unplugged. In this episode, we have a very special guest joining us all the way from Canada. We have Sebastien Lafrance, sir, who is currently working as the Crown Counsel in Canada and majorly deals with competition law matters. In this episode, sir talks us on how he became a Crown Counsel. He deliberates on his journey of becoming a Crown Counsel. Thereafter, sir tells on why languages are important for lawyers, and believe me, sir knows more than 20 languages. And finally, sir gives his mantra of time management and becoming a successful person and a professional. So this episode has a lot to offer, and finally we have a lot of fun in the fun segment. So make sure you watch the episode till the end, and don't forget to like, share and subscribe. So hello, namaste, Shabak here, and welcome to Law Unplugged. In this episode, we have a very special guest. We have Sebastien sir with us, who is Crown Counsel. I mean, if in India's parlance, it would be somewhat close to an Attorney General, if I'm not wrong. So it's an honor to have you on the show, sir. How are you feeling today? How are you doing?
Thank you very much. Bahut dhanyavad. Sorry for the bad accent here. Thank you very much. I'm feeling great. I'm very happy to and honored, obviously, to be with all of you today. It's really a sincere pleasure.
Great. I mean, see, with that accent, so Hindi is, we'll also talk in Hindi now.
Because now a little bit. I just started learning, but yeah, I will be better, let's say in a year or two, but I just started, so it's, but I will get better.
So the first question to you being that, you are the Crown Counsel and everybody knows that. What people might not know is your childhood, is how you came to the pedestal of Crown Counsel, the journey that you undertook. So enlighten us on that.
It's by mistake, I have to say. Nobody knows about it except a few close friends. But first of all, I became a lawyer by mistake, and then I became a prosecutor by mistake. Two great mistakes, you will tell me, but these are... no, I shouldn't say mistakes, actually, because I love being a Crown Counsel and being a prosecutor as well as a lawyer. I love it, obviously, but the life actually brought me there. And coming from a very poor background as a child, I was raised by a single divorced mom. I oftentimes, she did not necessarily have all the means to feed me ever. So it was very difficult childhood. I remember one time I had to, because I wanted to have some candies and some extras, some treats. So my mom didn't have money. So what I did is I went in front of the pharmacy around 5-6 p.m. and I was selling pins, pins that you just put on your t-shirt and suits. So I was selling my own personal pins that I collected, and I was asking for pennies for it. And if people were buying 2 of them, I was singing for them. But first of all, it was -10 outside, very cold. And second, I hate singing. But I knew people likes it. It was Christmas time. And again, it's not to complain. It's just to give you a bit of a background. So basically, childhood, very difficult, but it brought me, it alerted me to, okay, if you want to do what you want to do in life, you're going to have to work hard and dedicate yourself entirely to it. And then later on in life, I studied, I did several degrees, and then I was working in one place, and I lost on the same day, I lost my job, not because I lost it, but the contract ended on that day earlier than it was expected for whatever reason. I lost at the time my girlfriend at the time, who left me on the same day. My grandfather died, and somebody else in my family died. So everything on the same day. Adoptive grandfather. So it basically, I went into a severe, and I'm not afraid to talk about it, even though it's pretty personal, but I went into, they call it a circumstantial depression. So for 6 months, I was not even able to speak, to talk, whatever language it is. I was under serious medication. And at the end, the doctor who was taking care of me when I got better, he asked me, okay, what do you want to do with your life now? What's your projects? And I just had started talking. And I lost everything, all the money I saved, so basically gone. So basically, I had nothing left, zero. And I said, well, I will do my law degree. And his reaction of the doctor was, he burst in laughs. And he says, well, sorry, I burst in laughs, but this is the worst choice of your life. Because of the stress you were under, because of the pressure what happened to you, you will not succeed in law. You will not thrive. You will hate it, and you will have a very bad life, and you will come back to us because now you're weaker. And I said, okay, of course, I take your advice seriously, but I will not follow your advice. And about a year and a half later, I booked an appointment with him, with the doctor. And I said, and he thought that I just, came back, and because I was in serious pain, and because the depression came back for whatever reason, even though it happened only once. Let's be clear about that. It's a circumstantial depression because of all the sad and mad events happen on one day. And it was my birthday, by the way, also. So I went back to him a year and a half after, or 2 years after, and I said, he was concerned. And I looked at him and he said, oh, I just wanted to see you because I wanted to let you know I just won the first prize with my teammates of an international moot court that involved 23, 24 French-speaking countries, and we won the first international prize. That's the only thing I wanted to tell you. I'm not weaker. Thank you very much. Have a very nice day. I'm not here to brag. I'm not here to make you feel bad about it. I just wanted to tell you and that it's possible. And that's the message here. Like, I'm talking about myself. I'm giving you personal examples and it's very, very personal, if not intimate examples of what happened to me. But that's the message here. It is possible. Never, whatever happens to you, and it can be serious. It can be more serious than what happened to me. It can be less serious than what happened to me. But never let it down. Never believe in yourself. Believe in your strengths, even though people tell you you cannot do it. If you believe in yourself, and please do. Just do it.
So moving on, you have, as Crown Counsel of Canada, you have worked through almost all areas of globe, different conditions, but I mean, just to take us through all that experiences working in different geographical locations, what you learned from that.
Yeah. So basically, when I left, because my contract ended, and I clerked at the Supreme Court. That was 2011. So that's a 1-year clerkship. Then I stayed working 2 additional years at the Supreme Court at the law branch. And then I basically got hired as a prosecutor, as a Crown Counsel in the Canadian Arctic. Canadian Arctic, the real, we call it, the Canadian North. It is the real Arctic. On a map, it's really up there, close to, it's not that close to the North Pole geographically, but on a map, it looks pretty close. It is freezing, but the people are warm. And that's something I need to mention, in spite of the geographical difficulties, because it's very small. Basically, none of it has I don't want to misspeak, but more than 20 communities. The capital city, for example, has only 8,000 or 9,000 now people around, more or less, and also work in the Northwest Territories, which is also in a different part of the Arctic in Canada. So Nunavut is one territory and one part of the Arctic, and the other one is Northwest Territories, also part of the Arctic in Canada. The challenges are very physical. Also, of course, the courts, but let's talk about the physical challenges first. For example, when you go on circuit, and I have the utmost respect for my dear colleagues who do that, who decided to stay longer or to go there and start a career as a prosecutor. It is the best school for prosecutors, I would say. In the Arctic, you do prosecute for all criminal offenses, as opposed as the rest of Canada. The prosecutors, the federal prosecutors, as I am, only prosecute federal offenses like drugs, mostly, competition law, for example. This is a field that I'm working in these days, and well, actually more than these days, but since a year, happily so. Only federal laws, but you don't work with sexual assaults, with murder cases, but in the Arctic, you do everything. So you have to learn quick, because you are left alone, not without supervision at the very beginning, let's be clear, but you 1 week of court is in your hands very quickly, so you have to work hard. And in terms of physical challenges, because of the physical files you have to carry, I have an anecdote. For example, the hotel in a small community, and you fly in those communities in Nunavut. That was in Baker Lake, which is the second largest city in Nunavut. So basically, you have to carry in a big plastic bin all the files that you have for the day in court. So I remember it was very heavy, probably around, I don't know, maybe it's too much, it's exaggerating, but I believe it was around 100 pounds or something. It felt like it. So I was carrying it alone on the ice. The road was very icy. And even though the distance between the court, which was held in a hotel, so I was walking from the hotel I was staying in, which was a different hotel. So maybe normally it's a 5-minute walk. But this walk took me, and it's not because I walk like a turtle, it took me an hour. Why? Because the road was very icy and I kept falling on the ice. I probably fell more than 30 times, sliding my plastic bin with files behind me, wearing a suit, of course, and freezing outside with a very warm winter coat, obviously. But it was very. I'm laughing now, and why am I laughing? So am I crazy? That's horrible. But no, because it shows you that justice really deserves to be served. It is not about yourself. It is not about your pain of falling down on the ice. Justice is not about you complaining of carrying files. Justice is about people. It's about every citizen. And this is also what a famous Supreme Court of Canada decision tells us in an old decision from 1955 or 54 in the Queen versus Boucher, Boucher. So that decision, summarily, it speaks to the ingrained dignity that that the Crown Counsel has to behave by. So I paraphrase here, but you always have to keep in mind when you're a prosecutor, and same for defense counsel, but in the different set of rules. But you also work for justice. You're not only there as you're not a shark who looks for money. I don't say all people who work for money are sharks. It's not what I'm saying, but the Crown Counsel, their job of prosecutor is so deeply nourishing for your soul, your dedication. It calls for it. It's like it is a mission, not a tunnel vision as a mission. Because also what Boucher says is the job of the prosecution, it's not to gain a conviction. It's not to have somebody, of course, necessarily be acquitted. It's not about gaining or losing a case. It is really about justice. So the Arctic, to go back to the example, really makes you, it basically makes you understand it pretty quickly. Because if you get to court and say, Your Honor, I'm sorry, I'm 35 minutes late. I delayed the court. Not my fault. I fell in the ice for an hour. Oh, and if we can put the court, just stand it down today. I'm tired because of this walk. I have a lot of bruises because I fell in the ice. I would like to go back to bed and relax. Well, what the judge is going to tell you, the judge is kindly, or in this case, probably not kindly and rightfully so, tell you, what about Boucher's obligation? It's not about you. It's about justice. And by getting to court late, you didn't help justice. You didn't help the court system. You could have wake up early, be awakened earlier at 5 a.m. I don't know. It's not the court's problem. It is your problem, and you embody you're an officer of justice. So interestingly, that's one thing. But also, it's not only the Crown Counsel. I have to raise my hat to all those who work hard. Also, I'm thinking of one guy specifically that I got along very well with in Nunavut, who basically meets with the witnesses. All Crown witness coordinators actually are pretty dedicated as well in Nunavut and the Northwest Territories. So it's not only Crown Counsel, it's everybody who works for the prosecution. Defense counsel too have their own difficulties as well. What is particular is everybody is pretty collegial. As a bit less adversarial than in the South. Not saying they will not defend the interest of their clients when they're defense counsel. Not saying that Crown Counsel don't care about their cases, about the prosecution, but it is very collegial because it's super small. So that's quite interesting. And then after a few years, I went to work in Toronto, in Ontario. First as an in-house counsel with the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, so that's the National Police of Canada, the RCMP, still as a federal crown, but I was, and I met wonderful, dedicated police officers, a few in particular that I have in mind right now. I consider them as friends. And then I worked for a year, mostly with drug cases at Holt City Hall, and now I'm working in competition law mostly, but still federal. So,
okay, sir. So you have gained experience in many areas of law across many jurisdictions, including your passion for public international law. So how did all this help you as a Crown Counsel?
It didn't help me at all directly. It does help me indirectly. Curiosity is the key word, I would say. I just love the law. So basically, let's take just an example of the human anatomy. You have a skeleton without the skin, without all the organs, just the bones. All human beings have bones, are made the same. So is the law. So the mechanics of the law, when I do or write about public international law, it is basically the same bones. Competition law, criminal, civil law, labor law, constitutional law. The rules are different. So the organs may be different. Or the flesh, the skin may be different. so are human beings. But down inside, it's always the same. It's human beings. So it does help using this analogy, because it's when I work in or write about, let's say, public international law, civil law, constitutional law, different jurisdiction like Indonesian law, Indian law, it brings me a different flavor, a different spice. So it does help my understanding of my own law. So, right, that's one of the benefits of comparative law, or working in other fields of law as well, other areas of law as well. When you go back to your cup of tea, should I say, which is criminal law and competition law more specifically, it helps to open your eyes and have a bird's view. Yes, a very surgical, specific view on an understanding and analysis on this and that issue, legal issue, factual issue, of course. But keeping your eyes open also help to not forget about the great scheme of things, basically, and how the law works, the mechanics of the law. So I don't say, of course, every field is different, sometimes substantially different. Criminal law, for example, and domestic criminal law and international law, international criminal law, it's different. They have the same skeleton, but of course some rules are different by definition. One is domestic, the other one is international law, but also the way it works, the how it uses, defines this and that offense, for example, how they rely on the jurisprudence may be different. It's not exactly the same. But when you, to go back to the analogy, when you like the law, it helps. So that's how it helps indirectly. Does it help directly? Well, no. I like the law so much. As languages, same thing. So like I said, that's something I discovered by mistake, like I said initially. And not having had this breakdown that stopped me from talking for months, I would never have studied law. I would never have discovered the beauty of the law. I would never have discovered the richness of the law, the depth of the intellectual issues that are captivating. So, I just wrote, for example, I have to tell you about this, but I just wrote an article on a comparison of the presumption of innocence between Vietnam and Canada. And if I didn't understand Vietnamese enough, my article would have been super boring. Not that talking about the presumption of innocence in Canada and Vietnam is boring in and of itself, but there are issues that exist only because of the language, because the way things are defined. So that's useful, and that's useful to understand the law, and and also to make friends, right? So it's because people were, this guy understands this issue. So that's also a big fuel, a big motivation. That would be presumptuous. I am not at all. But to do my small contribution, very humble contribution, to unite as much as possible the world. And it's not by harmonizing everything, making things equal and exactly the same in each country. It's not what I'm saying. That's why also that's the example of the presumption of innocence in Vietnam. There are distinctions, major distinctions and differences between Canada and Vietnam. Even though when you just look at the English version, it looks the same, but it's not. Well, but Nelson Mandela said, and that's something else that's very important about, and that's a fuel for the law. I know it doesn't seem related, but it is. Nelson Mandela, and I paraphrase him here, when he said, when you speak to someone in his or her second or third or fourth language, you speak to his or her brain. But when you speak in his or her mother tongue, native tongue, you speak to their hearts, to their souls. And when you come back to the law with this inspiring quote in mind, it helps. Because yes, when I was studying the presumption of innocence, I could have relied upon only in the English version say, oh, Vietnam's the same, or etc., but it's not. And the same issues may happen in any multicultural societies, as India is, as Canada is. Canada has 2 official languages. In India, there are thousands, more than 1,000 languages spoken. Yes, Hindi is very important. Urdu is also important. English is one of the very important languages for the courts. But there's one issue, for example, some lower courts started having, in India, hearings not in English. That's recent. But why? Well, because think about this quote from Nelson Mandela. What if the people don't speak? They're like it. And in Canada, in criminal law, for example, I'm not going to get into this. I shouldn't, but languages also have an impact in criminal law. When you think of the respect of official languages, French and English in court, or the need for an interpreter, that's very important. So that's something else I've seen in the Arctic. People, several older people mostly, but their first language, it's not English, it's Inuktitut. And they have to rely on interpreters to be understood. So languages and law, it's like, yeah, sorry, I digressed too much, but just to give you talk about the fuel. Sorry, it got me started, but I should have stopped myself.
As I was listening to you, sir, you were very much, emphasizing on the need of doing justice. Like specifically it's the most important role, the ultimate goal of law is to do justice, actually. But like I had this general doubt of something, like in the contemporary legal practice, like do you think monetary considerations have overshadowed this aspect of justice? Like the lawyers of both the parties, something like that. Like it depends upon the.
The sound cut off.
Much more monetary need of it, or monetary overshadowing their main objective.
So the need to make, well, not the need, but it is totally acceptable, of course. That is, let me go back to the example of when I was selling pins. And it has nothing to do with the law, but with the motivation. There is one wonderful man who came to me and stopped and said, and that's a true story. Everything I've said about this is totally true. It was 7 p.m. minus, colder than when I started, so probably minus 15, very cold. I was 6 years old, 7 years old. I was alone there in front of the pharmacy. And this man came over and asked me, what are you doing? And I said, well, I'm selling pins. Would you like to buy me one? It's 25 cents for one, and 3 pins for 50 cents. But then he stopped and he asked me, why? Is it your own pins? I said, yeah, that's my personal collection. And if I sing you a song, a Christmas song, sir, it's $1 in total with the 3 pins. It's not a lot of money, but that was to buy some treats because my mom couldn't afford it. And I'm feeling pain for my mom right now if she hears this interview, but she did the best she could with the means she had. It's not because she didn't want to give me anything. She just didn't have it. Nothing. And the man talked to me and said, well, what do you want to do in life? And I said, oh, sir, and I shouldn't say that because it's funny, but I said, sir, I want to be famous. And he said, well, that's not a job being famous, kid. So what do you want to do? And I felt offended because deep inside I said, well, I want to be famous. That's what I want to do in life. And I talked about it. So what do you like to do? And I said, well, I like reading books. I was young, but I already developed this love for knowledge, honestly. And then he said, okay, let's do a deal. Let's do a deal. You just told me you like to read books. Okay, I will give you $20. I take all your pins and promise me that for Christmas, with that $20, you will buy a book that you want, that you couldn't afford to pay for. And it happened. So when we talk about motivation, go back also to your personal experience. Believe me, that book, I memorized it. I not only read it, but I read it so much that I memorized the whole darn book. I learned the book, not only read it. And I ate the book as if it was a big meal, a big feast for the mind. And of course, I cried when I got this $20, which was for me a fortune. And he took away all my pins, but who cares? That's setting the example. I would never have gotten that much money. So I don't know the name of this man. He's probably very old right now because I was so young at the time, but some people in life also, that's another motivation. Some people in life gives you inspiration, even though they don't necessarily know. This man, I'm not sure that he knew he would have this great impact on me. And also, I've been adopted at 9 years old by a man who I would call a saint, who I believe is a saint, actually, who motivated me, who supported me, raised me, and helped because I didn't have a dad. So motivation comes from various sources. Money, it's nice. But the happiness of money lasts. Like, think about the people who win $1 million. Like, let's say, I know in India it's rupees. In Canada, it's not American dollar, but it's Canadian dollar. But let's think of somebody who wins a fortune out of the lottery, because of the lottery, because of a lottery ticket. Many of them go into depression. And why? People say, why? He's rich. He's got everything he wants or she wants. What's the problem? You're not everybody, but many. Why? Because they realize, well, that's not everything. If everybody you know calls you and becomes your best friend because you just won a lottery, you just won how are you going to know who is your real friend? This is a fortune. To have real people, real close friends, I mean, on whom you can lean, that you can trust, that gives you support, gives you love, affection, motivation. That's fuel to thrive in life. So money, I say, well, okay, yeah, good. What's next? Thank you.
I don't know actually how to comment on this. I mean, I don't know what to say about this.
We are like speechless. Exactly, speechless.
But all I can say is that, okay, let's move forward with the next round, which we call the on your fingertips round, which is kind of similar to a rapid fire round.
Yeah.
So,
And
Yeah.
this is to like lighten the mood. So I mean,
Yeah.
let's
Oh yeah, of course. Yeah, it will be fun. Yeah, I promise you. If you don't laugh, I lost it. But that's my goal.
okay. Anyway, so to start with, sir, name any one of your favorite law book and a favorite non-law book.
Wow. I don't have a favorite law book. I don't. I could say, all law books are good. No. I don't have a favorite law book. because
law is your
basically,
favorite.
yeah, well, yeah, all and none, right? Because there's always something I see that, oh, great. Yeah, I don't know. No, I don't have a favorite law book. And non-law book favorite, I would say the phone book. Why? Because it's probably the phone book in Canada. It's 20,000 pages. It reads easily. There's a lot of characters, more than I don't know. In Toronto, it's 3 million people. You have their address, their phone number. You don't know too much information about their story, but you know that they have a phone number. Some of them have funny names. I remember one in the phone book when I was a child, and that's also totally true. In Montreal, I'm not going to say his last name out of respect. I'm sure it's not a real last name. It doesn't make sense. But my uncle brought my attention to it. His name started with 5Z. That's it. That was in the phone book. So my favorite non-law book is the phone book for that reason. Why? Because the story is never ending. You can use your imagination because the phone book itself has its own limits. So if you want to not be bored after having read 1,000 phone numbers and persons' names, you have to use your head, use your imagination, and make your own book based on the phone book. So I would say that, and I know a few colleagues of mine, a few friends will tell me, Seb, you're silly, but maybe I am. But the phone book tells you a lot, and at the same time, it tells you nothing. And that's life. Life remains to discover.
Right. Wonderful. Great. Going forward, the best country you want to visit. I mean, there is at least some country, right? You know about the laws of many, many countries. So any one country you want to visit or other work in one more country as a part of work, you know?
Yeah. There's the country I would not necessarily be sad to not visit. It's Liechtenstein, and I'm not talking about against Liechtenstein, but Vaduz. These are, or the Vatican, but mostly Liechtenstein. For example, Vaduz is a city. Actually, it's a capital city, but these are one of the smallest countries in the world. So I don't know if there's much to discover in those countries, but I would say, well, I don't really care that much. Not saying I don't care about the people, the inhabitants of these countries. I have favorite countries. Countries I like more. It doesn't mean I don't like the other. But there seems to be India, of course, is one of them. Indonesia is also one of them. I'm speaking more or less good Indonesian, not fluently yet, but still learning. Also Vietnam. I have Vietnam on. So India, Indonesia, and Vietnam. I have these countries on my heart. India for various reasons. Every Indian watcher will know. India's culture is rich, diverse. There are so many languages, so many ethnicities. It is beautiful. So many colors, so many unique people. India gave birth to great intellectuals, great people, great humanists. So of course, India. India is a huge country, but more than being a big country. You can be a big country and have nothing to say, have nothing to do. But India is a very important nation, not only in the world, obviously, for obvious reasons for anybody, but for myself, I have a special connection with India. This is why I found it unacceptable to not have started to learn Hindi so far when I started learning Chinese Mandarin, finished the 4 classes at the University of Toronto, that I'm fluent in several other languages. So that's That's why I said, no, that's enough. You have to learn Hindi. For Vietnam, I also studied Vietnamese. I'm still studying it. It's very important. Indonesian, same thing. Yeah, these would be my favorite countries. But there are other, and I'm not, I know my wife is, if she would hear me speaking right now, she's, well, you didn't say Australia. I love Australia. So because my wife helps me so much, and because I have one exceptional friend in Australia, and friends in Australia, I have to say Australia as well, out of respect for them, because they're wonderful people. But also, does it really matter? I mean, what makes a country, right? Countries, I don't say borders should not exist at all. I don't say differences, cultural differences should not exist at all. Actually, I love it. I love differences. But what makes a country unique? It's their people. So even though you like the culture of a country, even though you like the language of a country, it doesn't, if the people are not, if you don't have a connection with the people, it doesn't make it appealing. It doesn't make it favorite. So there's one thing I didn't say. I would say also Russia, because I self-taught Russian as a child. I'm fluent in Russian and other languages as well, but Russian's the first I saw, before English actually, as a child, totally alone by myself, and I became fluent, and I have a few very close Russian friends, and I promised myself I would visit Russia one day. But again, these are nations. Like, I refer to people, right? So that's, you can be in a country you don't necessarily like, but there's one person that will give you the taste, the love of this country because of that person. And you know, if you look at the Indian national anthem, it does speak to various areas of India. So India, its richness, it's in diversity, and so is Canada. So that's very, very interesting, very, very appealing. But you also need a personal connection to people. So I have a few very close Indian friends that's very precious. But yeah, that would be my favorites. But again, there are other places that I enjoyed being in, and I'm thinking about Cambodia, for example. Cambodia is a very, very amazing country with great people as well. So, but yeah, it's very difficult. But I wanted to make a call. I told myself, no, say something that I said, well, don't say any country and be general. Well, no, it wouldn't be fair. So that's my honest answer. So that would be India, Vietnam, Indonesia, and Australia, as I said.
Okay. So moving forward, any two things which are in your bucket list?
The first would be to do a world tour of lectures. The second, that's my dream. It won't happen necessarily soon. Maybe it will never happen, but life is made of dreams. Some dreams, not all dreams happen, and it's fine as it is. But I wish that one day I would be awarded an honorate PhD. And it's a dream. It's like I'm laughing. I'm a bit uncomfortable, and see, I'm a bit shy saying this because honoris causa, a PhD honoris causa, or honorary doctorate. I know it's only a piece of paper, but the honor would be amazing. Of course, as it should, as it shall, as one of my colleagues would say. That's a dream. maybe it's never going to happen. It's fine, but it's a bucket list. Bucket list. Not everything always happen, but if it does, I know it will. Just like your little baby honorary doctorate that you can cherish and say, oh wow. So it's just a dream, but like the song says, it's just a dream. But we'll see. But it's not a rush, right? I'm still just 44 years old, but that's a dream. That's on my bucket list. That's a two things.
We wish it happens very soon.
Before we end, I want you to try this tongue twister in Hindi.
Oh.
Okay, so yes, how can I forget? This is very easy. Hindi tongue twister. It is kacha papad, pakka papad.
Oh.
You go on saying it. So
until you actually, it is very fast for you.
Yeah. So it is kacha papad, pakka papad.
Kacha papad.
Pakka papad.
Oh, pakka papad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Kacha papad, pakka papad. So say it
Kacha
as fast
papad,
as you can.
pakka papad. Oh yeah. Oh, as fast as you can. Okay. Oh wow. Kacha papad, pakka papad. Oh.
Okay. Anyway.
I mean the tongue twister goes like kacha papad, pakka papad, kacha papad, pakka papad, kacha papad, pakka papad, kacha papad, pakka papad. It's like that. So.
Wow. Okay. Wow. No, I couldn't do it. I'm not there yet. Sorry, guys.
Maybe.
I mean, you tried it and you have already done your part. I mean, we are obliged.
To say just is that we were always looking forward to this interview, and we talked about less about the law and more about everything else. I mean, that is a fundamental part of what fun actually, how a man actually gets fun from this kind of talk shows.